Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to this first and last day with me, Obi, as the PIC of this Mariones group. And before we really jump into our conversation, could you guys introduce yourself, please? Start from Boni.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Tania Bonita Rumapea. So I'm from 19 Yalti. So I live in Simalungun. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Maybe next, Ekle.
Hello everyone, my name is Eka Salindega. I'm from 20 ELT and I'm from NIAS. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Last.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Jessica Sutomo. Same with Ekle. I'm from 20 ELT and I live in Palangkaraya. Nice to meet
Okay.
you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you all. All right. Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourself. Let's go to our conversation. Nah, as future teachers, we not only transfer our knowledge to the students, but we touch their lives and help them in their growth, especially the socio-emotional context of the children's lives that influence their ability to learn, right? So firstly, let's discuss about what is socio-emotional. So socio-emotional development is how a person controls his or her emotions, which involves the sympathy and empathy to others. So they can interact with others well, like the family, parents, or peers. Because these three, the families, peers, and schools, are the social context that directly involves the student's socio-emotional development. And today, we will present the aspects of children's social-emotional, which are the self-esteem, moral development, and coping with stress. Also with our story, like the personal experience, plus how we as the future Christian teachers supposed to see and respond that. Okay, without any further ado, let's discuss about the self-esteem, right? Okay, Kak Boni, could you explain to us what self-esteem is and why it influences the students and how we as teachers should help students to improve their self-esteem, please?
Okay, thank you, OP. So as we know, according to John in his book, Educational Psychology, self-esteem refers to how person sees his or herself. So it also refers to self-worth or self-image. For example, I have a high self-esteem, meaning that I think that I'm a good person and live my life with happiness as I want it to be. So it is about how I see myself. And then the next question is why it influenced the student's social emotional. We need to understand that there is a correlation. So, for example, in academic things, a study finds an association between children's low self-esteem and low academic achievement. So, low academic achievement causes low self-esteem, and otherwise, low self-esteem causes low academic achievement. So, this shows that self-esteem influences the student's social emotional development. Now, students' self-esteem often varies across different domains, such as academic, athletic, physical appearance, social skill, and so on. A student might have high self-esteem in athletic skills, but also she or he might have low self-esteem in biology. So I want to share my experience back then when I was in my school. So I had low self-esteem in math. So in my math class, I hardly reached the passing grades. But it's not only me, of course. Yeah, my friends also. So my math teacher humiliated us and said bad words because we got low scores. And then, of course, at the time, I felt so stupid and hate mathematics so much, and it influenced my self-esteem. I was not confident to show up in front of the classroom. Moreover, in my math teacher's class. However, OP and friends, there's a fact from research that said that the self-esteem of girls drop about twice as much as than boys during adolescence. So I personally agree with this statement because it's related with my own experience and maybe you guys, many things around us that make us have a low self-esteem. So for me, for example, on some occasion, I feel that I'm not really good in my look. So it's about my physical appearance. And then it makes me compare myself with others and become uncomfortable with people around me. So I feel that I'm not worthy and there's insecurity in myself. So that's why I said that girls tend to face insecurity more often than boys, and it influences their self-esteem. And then uh, for the experiences that I have shared before, I think we could see how self-esteem influence social emotional development. Therefore, we need to know the strategies to solve this so that we also can help our students later on to cope with it. So, from the research that I also did, however, it's possible to raise our self-esteem constructively. So there are four strategies. The first is identify the cause of low self-esteem and the areas of competencies important to the self. So later on, as a teacher, we need to find the cause of our students' low self-esteem so that we can help them. It also might be because achievement, maybe they had low scores in many subjects, or maybe because family problems, even weak social skill, and even because of the society around them. And then the second strategy, we need to see that we need to provide emotional support and social approval. So we need to create a positive classroom environment. So our emotional support and social approval can help those who have low self-esteem to value themselves more. And then the third strategy is how children achieve. So as a teacher, we need to help them to achieve something that they can actually achieve. So we cannot force them to do something that they cannot, not that cannot, but maybe they are not really good in that. And then the fourth strategy is help children develop coping skills. So we need to help them to cope with reality so that they can evaluate themselves. And then after what I have explained in this session, I think the conclusion that I can give to all of you guys as a Christian teacher, we need to see our student as image of our God. So they are unique as they are. Yeah, we should not force them to achieve something that they are not into. We need to see their potential and help them to grow. We need to make our student realize that they are worthy. That's the main point, of course. They are image of God, and God created them with their own ability and talent that they need to find and also develop. I think that's that I can share, Opi.
Thank you, Yvonne, for the explanation. That I realized that everything that you have delivered before really relates to us, especially the point that you say we cannot force our students to do all things well because they have their own potential. Maybe they are good at art, but they don't at mathematics, and that's fine. But as teachers, we should help them to learn and build their critical thinking, not only about the subject in the classroom, but also how they behave and also represent God in their life, right? Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Next, the second one is about the moral development. Ekle, could you explain to us what is moral development, why it matters, and how to help students in developing their morals? Please.
Okay, thank you, Kopi. So, children not only develop their self-esteem, like Kak Bon explained before, they also need to develop a sense of morality. Children tend to face the identity crisis. They face a lot of experimenting, a lot of mood swings, a lot of emotion and awkwardness. So here, Colbrecht does an interview with some children, adolescents and adults, primarily males, about their views on a series of moral dilemmas, and he comes up with a theory. A key concept in understanding progression through the levels and stages is that their morality becomes more internal or mature. So, in the level one of Colbrecht's theory is pre-confessional level, no internalization. And in this level, there was two stages. And in the stage one, we call it heteronomous morality. In this stage, individuals pursue their own interests, but let others do the same. What is right involves equal extent. And in the stage two, we call it individualism, purpose and extent. In this stage, children obey because adults tell them to obey. People base their moral decisions on fear of punishment. As we can see, the students who will be involved with us are in level one. They just follow our rules without knowing the aim of those rules. We need to tell them and open their mind about who they are and why they are doing what they are doing. For example, when students have their exam, we cannot avoid them if they do the cheating. And what if we directly have seen them cheat at that time, but they still discover it? So now, why do students cheat? So they face the pressure of forgetting high grades, time pressures, self-perception that one doesn't have the ability to succeed, and even poor teaching, lack of interest, and perceiving a low likelihood of being caught and punished for cheating. So this is what we don't want to happen, right? So now the question is how to help students in developing their morals. Actually, the curriculum 2013 has challenged the school to do character education, starting from the activities in the school and in the classroom, and also when the teaching and learning process happen. It is a direct approach to moral education that involves teaching students basic moral literacy to prevent them from engaging in immoral behavior and doing harm to themselves or others. So students are encouraged to define their own values on and to understand others' values. So by this approach, every school should have an explicit moral code that is clearly communicated to the students. This character education has not been applied perfectly because of some teacher, wait, because of some teacher, some school, or even the students. That's why, as a Christian teacher, we have to facilitate the students to develop their character that can reflect the character of Christ's disciple. As the Lord says in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 until 9, God wants us to teach our students diligently about loving God with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our might. So through this approach, we hope our students want to transform, and in that transformation, they can develop their character and morals. Maybe that's all, Kak Ovi.
Thank you, yeah, Eclair, for the explanation and the reflection also. That's right, yeah, especially in this online learning, it's kind of really hard to educate students on his or her morality. That's why we need to collaborate with their parents who are at home to supervise them, their learning process, and also we can find the right learning method and learning strategy at some activity, maybe like literacy and morning devotion to help their spiritual and self-development, especially for the moral development. All right, thank you, Ekle. And this is the last subtopic that we will present, which is coping with stress. And here, Yesu will explain to us why coping with stress is important and what we should do as Christian teacher.
All right. I'm actually a little bit nervous. I always get nervous if it's my turn to talk. But anyway, for me, none of the people in this world never face stress. Even the students do, even us, right? And as the children get older, they use a greater variety of coping stress and more cognitive strategies. Here's some things that we can do as a Christian teacher to help our students. The first thing is reassure children of their safety and security. We cannot do this once or twice, but we should do it numerous times, several times if necessary. Because I think the feeling of safetyness is really important for children so they can focus on their learning, so they can upgrade their academic quality, right? And then the second one, allow children to retell events and be patient in listening to them. Because sometimes on my experience, if I have if I feel stressed out or even depressed, all I want to do is talk about it to someone. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm I like to talk to people. So when I talk to people, I feel my burden, my heart, and what I feel is kind of released. So it's making me feel better. And I can finally focus on things that I should do instead of thinking about my stressful and my depression over and over again. And then the third one is encourage children to talk about any disturbing or confusing feeling, reassuring them that such feelings are normal after a stressful event. So yeah, sometimes children are having no idea why they feel like they don't know the feeling, you know. And I think it's pretty okay because we don't have to know everything, and it is normal for human to feel like that kind of feeling. So yeah, we should encourage children to talk about it so we can find some problem solving for them. And then the fourth one is protect children for re-exposure to frightening situation and reminders of the trauma. For example, by limiting discussion of events in front of the children. It is very important so they not like thinking about it over and over again. And then the last one is help children make sense of what happened, keeping in mind that children may misunderstand what took place. For example, young children may blame themselves, believing that things happen and things happened that did not happen. Believe that terrorists are in the school and etc. Gently help children developing a realistic understanding of the event. And for this, I feel like when I am a kid, I used to blame myself of what happens to several events, and I feel bad about it, and it's kind of causing a trauma in my life. But when someone's helping me out, it's kind of making me easy to release every burden in my life, every burden in what I feel, what I have experienced, and the one that helping me is my teacher, and I am kind of that teachers kind of give me inspiration. She is not a Christian, but her actions really impact my life. So I really encourage us as Christian teachers to do the same to help our students. If teachers that not Christian teachers can help other children, her students to feel better about themselves, feeling better to make a better version of themselves, then Christian teachers should do the same, even better, something like that. Maybe that's from me, Kak Opi.
All right, thank you, Yasu, for the explanation. You also give us some strategies, yeah, how to cope with that stress. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's our responsibility as teacher, actually, us as Christian teacher, to help them in coping their stress, not the one who makes their stress blow up, right? All right, we will come into the conclusion or the closing statement, and here it is. So, social-emotional is how a person manage their emotion to be able to have relation with others and interact with people without a problem. This social-emotional has three aspects, which are first, self-esteem. It is how the students see themselves. The second one is moral development. It is how students develop their sense of morality. And the last is the coping with stress. It is how the students can cope with their stress because everyone has their own stress. Of course, this social emotional cannot separate it from the social context like the family, school, and peers. That's why, as teacher, we should hand in hand together with their parents and school to help and see the children as the image of God who have fallen yet redeemed. So we do not only be the one who transfer the knowledge again, but also the one who involves ourselves in their lives as their role model and their friends who will be there by their side. So we will be able to respond, especially them. They will be able to respond to God's calling and grow to be a mature Christian later on. I have a verse in Proverbs 22, verse 6. God said, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Okay, everyone, it's been 13 minutes. We are here presenting what we have discussed before and do the reflection together. And it's time for us to call it a day. Thanks, everyone, for being here with me. Thanks to be responsive and reflective also. I hope this convo can motivate or educate other people who listen to our conversation until the end. That's all. Thank you.
Thank
Yay.
you.